Today on The Necessary Entrepreneur, we're thrilled to have Captain Alan Bernstein joining us. Alan is the owner and operator of BB Riverboats, a successful Cincinnati-based company offering scenic river cruises on the Ohio River. But Alan's journey to becoming a riverboat captain is much more than just a love for boats. It's a story of dedication, family, and a lifelong passion for America's waterways. During the conversation, we talk about risk, going all the way back to when Alan was a child and his family opened a steakhouse restaurant. We also talk about Alan's drive not to fail, knowing your banker, what keeps him up at night, steamboat racing, operating boats on a river, the ship and bridge collision in Baltimore recently, and the next evolution of BB Riverboats. Stick around to hear about Alan's involvement with tall stacks, a Cincinnati tradition dating back to the late 1980s, when to expect the next tall stacks, which is exciting, and a steamboat race you won't want to miss. Hey, thanks for tuning in again. Would you give us a like and subscribe, and that way our future episodes have a greater chance showing up in your feeds. I hope you find this conversation as insightful as I did. You can find out more about BB Riverboats on social media and at bbriverboats.com. Man, Alan Bernstein.
Yeah,
welcome.
I'm here in the flesh.
Yeah, man. So, so we'll get into all the stuff about
There's a lot of
riverboating.
imposters, but you got me here live.
You're the man, directly from Villa Hills or something. Yeah. I'm sure, right? But hey, so we'll jump. Thanks for coming today.
Okay, no problem.
It's nice to talk to. You're a second generation owner, right?
That's correct. My father and I started it awesome. Many years ago.
40-something years in the business.
Mike
actually 77, right?
Actually, all
right, let's go. Then we'll talk about Ecuador.
Yeah, we'll talk about Ecuador later. In 1962, my father opened up a what I would say is a Bonanza or Ponderosa kind of steakhouse. So it's that concept on 6th Street in downtown. And the only other steakhouse was Tad's, which was on 4th Street. And Tad's was a franchise from New York or Chicago. And we opened that restaurant. I was 10 years old. And my dad said, "You're going to come to work and you're going to help out." And I said, "Well, I don't know anything about, the rest." He said, "Well, you're going to learn. You're going to learn." I said, "Okay, well, we'll learn." And then as we started out, my dad got a job with the U.S. State Department, the United States State Department. And we were assigned the country of Ecuador. Now, he was not the ambassador of Ecuador, but he was next to the ambassador.
On the team.
On the team. And it was just... And, of course, I was, at that time, maybe 11, almost 12.
So it's 63, 64 then.
Yep. And I lived my life like a teenager would. I went to school, and even though we were in a foreign country, which was absolutely, Ecuador is one of the most beautiful, it's small, but it's a beautiful, beautiful country.
It's in Central America, isn't it?
No, it's in South America.
Is it truly South
just
America?
Below Colombia, just above Peru.
Okay.
And, of course, the Peruvians and the Ecuadorians have been fighting over their border for hundreds of years. And so a fight between Peru and Ecuador is not.
Yeah. So you're 12
Colombia was still a good place to go before the drugs. And I'm sure they had drugs then and they were growing drugs, but it wasn't like.
Wasn't as prominent. It wasn't the business.
And it wasn't the cartels and all the stuff there yet.
So you're 12 and 13.
12 and 13.
1963,
and I'm
64.
My dad traveled all around South America, and I got to do that. And he, I will tell you a secret.
Yeah. It's not going to be a secret anymore.
Well, it won't be. I don't know. Are we going to be listened by 2 or 3 people?
You might get like 5 or 6.
5 or 6. So if we are listened by 5 or 6, it might not be a secret. It wouldn't be qualified as a secret. I thought my dad was a member of the CIA. And The answer to that question is he's dead, and he did not tell me. I asked him several times. It was very fishy to me that my dad was a high-ranking American official, had diplomatic privileges and passport, and we entertained a lot of heads of states from around the world. And I just, my brother it says that I am the craziest guy he has ever met if I think our dad was in the CIA. And I would love to prove that he was. I really would.
Why do you think? Is it your so you're running businesses. You've been exposed to things. At 10 years old, your dad buys a restaurant. You start working. So since 10 years old, your brain's evolving.
Yep.
And that's how you're looking at the world. Problem solving, evaluation, strategy. So everything you've put together about your dad doesn't make sense that he's just a State Department boy.
Well, and let me say this. My dad absolutely had no fear of risk. Risk, which is a big part of owning your own business, taking steps along the way, whether they're good or bad, it's a risk. And it could be a risk financially, it could be personally, it could be a lot of things. But he was never afraid of taking the step from risk or towards risk. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was amazing how through my lifetime, he's proved that over and over and over and over again.
At what age could you articulate that man, he doesn't mind risk?
I would say about 18 or 19 years old, because we had decisions. We opened a steakhouse, and while we were in Ecuador, he made the decision to expand so that it wasn't one location, it was 2, and then 3, and then 4. And I said, Dad, do we have enough? Where are you headed? And he said, Alan, I don't know, but they're successful. They're doing good. And we're going to keep opening them up as long as people come to our restaurant. And I said, hey, I'm on the team. Let's go.
So what do you think? Well, we're digging in deep here on this risk thing. This is one of my favorite subjects because, see, I believe life is all risk.
Absolutely is.
And people spend their lives trying to avoid it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can't avoid risk. It's risky getting in your car every day.
Walking across the street.
Right.
Going to school.
Yes.
Going to the grocery store.
Everything's risky.
That's right.
And so I think if you're living in a space where you're spending a lot of your time worrying about evaluating and trying to avoid risk, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities. A lot.
And that's right. And the evaluation of risk is where an entrepreneur says, okay, we'll do it, or no, we're not going to do that.
Let's go.
Yeah. It's the key is to evaluate. And what was crazy with my dad is he never really analyzed risk. He was not afraid. If we didn't make it, we failed. That was a learning lesson for him. And what did we do wrong? Why did we do it wrong? And so the next time we wouldn't do.
Did you talk to him about this subject?
Many times.
What was his engagement on it?
My dad's his key. Now, you don't always want to live your dad's past life, and I try not to. Although my dad was a big inspiration for me, and I guess the way I say that, my sister. Linda is a master in speech and hearing therapy. My brother was an aeronautical engineer, wanted to be in Walk on the Moon. And then there was Alan. And Alan wasn't going to be the man to walk on the moon or a master in speech and hearing and help people. He was going to be something else. And my father had figured out that he better take me under his wing and teach me what it takes to be out on your own, to face risk right in the face and say, I'm going to do this anyway. Now, you have to be a little careful. I don't want people to think, well, we're just going to run right over risk.
Yeah, I think the way we can talk about maybe being careful is, and I'd love to get into not just living your dad's life, but he learned that somewhere. But you hear these people that, I don't know, I guess when you make a a lot of money in life and become like this billionaire, we give you credence to the thing you've done. And so what happens is, I'm not saying they're the best of us, but we look at these people like Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, who's just an innovative thinker. But Bezos, I've heard him say, just give me, I don't know the exact number, but just give me 60 or 70% of the information, and now it's time to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Those people who never take action are afraid of risk. They want to be 99% sure.
That's right.
Right? You're never going to be able to take action.
And that slows down a lot of very smart people.
Yeah.
Because my brother is more, he's an engineer. His whole thinking is totally
assurance, right? And you know what? We need them. We need them.
Well, yeah, you do.
Right?
And,
we want to make sure when the space shuttle goes up
that it's going to be successful, and guys are going to walk on the moon, and they're going to come back and tell us all about it. Mm-hmm. And that's it. That's an engineer right there. Boy, you couldn't define an engineer any more than that. Mm-hmm. And he has a lot of that. And he's due a lot of credit. I could never be a guy that walks in space. I can't visualize myself even thinking about that.
Yep.
But Jimmy, my brother, thinks I'm sort of crazy.
He thinks you're nuts.
Yeah.
Well, you know, to be a successful entrepreneur, and here I define success as it's longevity. That you're still here.
Yeah.
You're here.
Yeah.
Right? We could sit and probably talk for 2.5, 3 days
Yeah,
about all the reasons why you couldn't have been.
Absolutely.
Shouldn't have been.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But I think he thinks you're a little crazy and nuts. What I've seen is us entrepreneurs, I've been doing this thing 16 or 17 years. That's long enough to have a lot of failure in there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're wired a little wacko, man.
Well, and you sort of have to be that kind of.
Why do you think? I agree with you. Why do you think?
Well, if you went to business school and they teach you business 101 and they tell you about risk, and if it's a risky, maybe you shouldn't do it. And there's people like me that say, "The hell with risk. This is a good idea. Let's do it."
Yep.
And I guess it's just the way
you're wired up. Right?
You're wired up. And like I said, my brother and sister are totally different than me.
And thank goodness we have them, because they actually bring some normalcy to our world. Because if it was filled with guys like me and you, it might be wacko for everyone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
Come on, right?
Absolutely.
And so
absolutely.
I think probably what makes an Alan so special is that you see risk. Because to be a good business owner, you need to see it. You need to evaluate it. You need to strategize around it. And then you decide, are we going to do it or not? But once you make the decision that we're going to do it, there's going to be 8 huge, enormous obstacles, 15, 18. Those are irrelevant. Because a guy like you that says, okay, I evaluated it and we're going all in, boy, it's going to take a massive amount of failure to get you off that thing. A massive amount.
And listen, we've had big failures.
But I said massive.
But you have to learn.
There you go.
The key
and you just keep going.
Is you learn what you did wrong, or you assess what you did wrong, and you don't want to do that again. So you have to learn.
But you keep going. That's the piece.
Absolutely.
That's the piece.
An entrepreneur is not going to be distracted by a failure.
Yeah.
If you are, you're never going anywhere.
Give me one of the biggest challenges in these 40-something years of operating boats. You guys here's why you've been successful, because you're still here. There's a lot of people coming and going, not just here. You did stuff back in the 80s, I think, in Knoxville. I mean, you guys have been around. Steamboats have come to town, and you guys are a big part of that, tall stacks. What's that moment in these 40-something years? Maybe it's a secret. We're going to expose it. What's that moment that you're willing to share that you're like, man, this was the closest I was to quitting?
There were several of those, but if you want to just take tall stacks, as you mentioned, as a way to understand risk, or the way to understand how entrepreneurs are wired, tall stacks would have never happened, never, had it not been for
you guys.
My company that was not afraid of taking the risk. This was 1984, so we're going back quite a ways. Mm-hmm. And Cincinnati had decided they were going to do their big bicentennial celebration, And Rick Greiwe, a great friend of mine in Cincinnati, was made the director or whatever. And he called me up and said, Alan, we're going to do this bicentennial celebration, and we have to do something for the river. The river made this.
Defined the city.
No matter what you want to say,
We were top 5 in the country. At
oh
one
my
time.
God, we were the steamboat capital of the world.
And it was because of the river.
It was because of the river, and there was. Now imagine this, and this is a very interesting study about risk. There were people in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, that were not happy where they were, and they had to make a decision. Well, we could walk from Pittsburgh to wherever, or we could take a horseback ride, or we could stay here. Now, that was just the time when steamboats were, wait a minute, steamboats haven't been invented yet. They decided to get on a log, homemade raft tied together with rope and float down the river and find a new place to live. Now, what are the risks? Well, there's several right up front. Number one, you are never going to return to the place you started. Now, you would just imagine that today for me to tell a young teenager, hey, we're going to get on this raft and we're going to go down the river, but you're never going to be allowed to come back to where we started from. If your mom and dad are, you have family here, you're never going to see them again. And we're going to get on this raft and we're going to go someplace new. And we're going to start a city or start a community. And you say that today to anybody, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old, and not many in this country would take that risk.
Agreed.
And so that's what made Cincinnati. That there was people that got on that raft and settled right here, and they made Cincinnati what it is. And then the boats came, and Cincinnati was a big-time city back in the very early days.
Because of the river and transportation.
Absolutely.
The only thing that interrupted that were railroads, and it bypassed.
Well,
right?
the railroads
Chicago.
came later,
Yeah.
and you're right. The railroads definitely interrupted.
Yeah.
And a lot of boat people think that the railroads just stole everything away from, but that's not the, I mean,
Makes us feel better.
Well,
It gives us a reason.
Railroad people and boat people have never gotten along. Never.
So what happened with our subway? Why didn't that happen?
Yeah, I don't
Was
know.
that around World War I and funding and the Depression
well,
times?
Let's see.
Maybe
it was early 1900s, maybe 1910, when they started thinking about a subway for a little transportation system. And it was never, I don't know.
Because they dug a lot and they built
there's a lot of tunnels
underneath.
I think. Yeah.
Our city might have been different if that would have happened.
Maybe.
It may have been.
And if you want to keep on the subject, maybe it was risk. Maybe we shouldn't do all that. Maybe it was too much money.
Maybe the hills.
Maybe the hill. Maybe the mountains. Maybe the terrain. All made that crazy.
Well, you know what? We wouldn't have tall stacks in 1984. Probably if we would have had a subway in one of the top 5 cities.
Well,
in the world.
I don't know, but let me tell you, it took us 4 years. We didn't have tall stacks till '88, and it took us 4 years to put it together. And I'm very glad that it did, because it took every bit of 4 years to put it together. Now, I'm thinking, how are we going to do this? I'm the host guy. How are we going to deal? How are we going to deal with this? We ended up with 12 boats in 1988. Had an enormous celebration, enormously successful.
I remember it. It was everywhere. It was the pictures of that time where it felt like a celebration from 1900, just a gathering of people.
It was, and it was really almost a surreal situation where, is this really happening? Are we really doing this? Is it the fact that we did it? That was marketed as a once in a lifetime event, because we weren't going to do this. This was the And at the end, we're all on the public landing, and there was a choir singing "God Bless America" and all these patriotic songs, and everybody's crying. It's over. We're not going to do this again. And I can't remember, one of the young ladies on our team came up and said, "Why don't we do it again?" No, that's all they had to say to me. And I said, I don't know, maybe we can put together a group of people that want to do it again. And we did. We did it 7 times. 2025. I am letting out a secret because it has not been announced. But in 2025, we're going to do it again.
The last time was 2006.
And we have been trying to do it before that, but there was money issues, there was the economy issues, there was COVID, there just a lot of things got in the way. And everybody said, Alan, we need to do this again. And I agreed. I thought that it could be a signature event for the city. It's like the Olympics every 4 years. You could do it every 3-4 years. And we could still have a great celebration.
So 2025.
So we are headed for October 2025. I got a great lineup of boats. I mean, I don't know of all the tall stacks that we've had that we didn't have this great of a lineup. And on Sunday, the last day of the festival, we're going to have a great steamboat race between the 3 remaining steamboats operating in the United States, and it's going to be here in Cincinnati.
Wow.
And they'll be able to see 3 steamboats going up the river, the Natchez from New Orleans, the Belle of Louisville from just downriver in Louisville, and the Julia Bell Swain are the last remaining commercial steamboats that you can get on. And they're going to race. It's going to be a spectacle, I can tell you.
Who's going to win? You know boats.
I do no.
But you know boats.
I do know boats, and there's a way to handicap boats. But I can tell you this: if it's really speed, 2 of the 3, the Belle of Louisville is 110 years old, and it's 110 years old because Louisville bought that boat back in the 60s. And decided to rehab it and make it a showpiece. And it really is. A steamboat is so simple that it's really funny to talk about. You boil water. Water boiling creates steam. You capture the steam and you compress it, and it will drive a boat upward, upriver and downriver.
You can go to the museum center, and there's a little steamboat. You see the process working there.
And it's simple. You release the steam, and the wheel goes around. Not fast, but it goes around. And that was the real turn of the century invention back in the 1800s.
Capture the steam and use it for acceleration.
Absolutely. It's that, when you say, people say, well, it's not that simple. I said, it really is. I mean,
press steam, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's when you talk about simple, you boil water, you capture it, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing.
So is the Bell slow or fast?
Slow, and they do that on purpose. I know it could go faster, but they don't want
beat it up.
They don't want their museum piece. I mean, the way they have it right now, it could be another 100 years before that boat. Yeah, and the engines are from the 1800s. So now we're in the second 100 years.
Yep.
And it might go to the third.
So it's going to be a race between the Natchez.
The Natchez, the Belle Louisville, and the Julia Bell Swain.
So really, the Julia Bell Swain and the Natchez. If we're talking about speed,
those are fast boats.
Okay.
Those are
they going to open it up? Because here's what's happening these days. We're jumping around here, but now they have boxing exhibitions now. So Mike Tyson's getting ready to have a boxing match against a young guy, one of the Paul brothers, and it just was announced, but it's going to be an exhibition.
Mm-hmm.
So they're admitting they aren't trying to knock each other out. So is this race going to be an exhibition or a true race?
No, because there's a lot of bragging rights.
Okay.
And captains don't like to take this, well, who's going to win? I know it's fixed. And, a real captain would tell you there's no fixing steamboat racing. We're going to do this. We're going. And some of the races are pretty darn good.
Okay. How many knots are they going to be running at? Is that what
we don't use knots on the river. We use miles per hour.
Really?
Because, now let me teach you.
Teach us.
I'm going to teach you.
Okay, let's go.
A statute mile is 5,200 feet, give or take a few feet.
Okay.
That statute mile.
Yep.
A nautical mile is about 2/10 longer. A nautical mile takes the curvature of the earth, where a statute mile is a point A to point B straight line, and a straight line is easier to do, or it's quicker.
The curvature of the earth adds that point too.
That's exactly right. Now, on the river, there is no curvature of the earth on a river.
It's gravity, right? It's how the water goes.
There's fluctuation. There's, Mother Nature made the river, and that's why it goes. People ask all the time, why is it so curvy? And why couldn't they just, why don't we have a straight line from point A to point? I said, well, you have to talk to Mother Nature about that.
Yeah, when they cut a canal, they do, but this river's Mother Nature.
I guess when the glacier came through, it cut however it cut.
Okay.
And so you have to remember a nautical mile, just like in space, there is no statute miles up there. It's a nautical mile, and it takes all the curves into play. And a nautical mile is longer by about 2/10.
Okay.
It's really a math thing. It's not a big deal, but it certainly is.
It is.
Yeah.
So how many miles per hour are these steamboats going to be going in 2025? If they open it up between those two,
I would say that the two fast boats could make 9 or 10 miles an hour going upstream. They will do better coming downstream.
Does it double that speed coming downstream?
No, it doesn't. Well, on a day like today, it probably does, because the river's way up and it's running probably about 4 miles an hour today.
Yeah.
So it could have a big impact. But hopefully in October, we don't have a lot of high water. So, But yes, it has a big impact when the water starts to move. You've got to fight that. So in order to go 1 mile an hour, you got to go 5 miles an hour when you have a 4 mile an hour current.
Well, that's a lot of
That's
fuel.
just 1 mile an hour.
Yeah. So when we talked about this failure thing, one of the biggest failures, you talked about tall stacks.
Yeah.
What about that first tall stacks?
Well,
why was it so tough?
The secret was I made promises that I could not keep. And the only way I could keep them is if it was a success. And I really felt that we couldn't fail, that the city was turned on when we announced this event. And I felt that this is a big deal. But boats would call me and say, Alan, we need food, and we need ice, and we need. I said, no problem.
Resources.
We'll get it all. Do not worry about that stuff.
True entrepreneur speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And my team and my kids were my worst critic. They said, how are you going to do this? I said,
we're going to.
Well, we're going to figure it out. You and I and a couple of friends, we're going to figure this all out. We're going to get it done. And
was that the approach every day for
my life from 1984 to 1988 till the end was all tall stacks. I don't even know that I knew if the Reds had won or the Bengals had won.
How'd you still operate a successful business during that?
It was tough, and I can tell you the other part of entrepreneurial spirit is you have to surround yourself with people that can do what you need them to do. It's not me. Alan Bernstein did not put on tall stacks. My daughter and my son and my wife and my whole team of people at BB, they put on tall stacks, because all I could do was say, oh yeah, we'll get that for you. Don't worry. We'll take care of it.
You were the director of the show.
Yeah, I was. And it's funny. My father thought that tall stacks was the dumbest idea I had ever had.
Yeah, leave it up to the previous year. You'll say something like that in another 10 years to him, too.
Well, I tell my kids all the time, my father thought I was an idiot. He said, "What are you talking about with these boats? You can't even fill every day up with people here."
Yeah, it was
locally.
his how are you going to make money? How are we going to make money?
Absolutely.
Yeah, how are you going to make
Now,
money?
now we were not under pressure to make money, but we were under pressure to do business.
Yeah.
Because it was a it was a citywide celebration. So now in the previous the next tall stacks we had to produce.
Was that 92? Was that
92 was the next.
Yeah.
95, 99, 2003, 2006.
Why'd you have to produce on the next one?
We weren't a city event. So if we went out and raised money and we said, "Hey, we'll pay you back," the guy at the end says, "Where's my money?" You said I would get money back.
Was it profitable?
It broke. It was not. There was not a ton of profit left over,
but you didn't.
But we
lose
paid
money.
our bills.
There you go.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people would have been coming in every direction.
Because there's moments in every entrepreneur's life where we just can't pay the bills. You figure it out. You stick around, but there's you stay in business for longer than 5 years.
Let me just tell you, during COVID.
Yeah.
During COVID.
Because you're really in the entertainment restaurant business.
Absolutely.
Right.
You can say what you want. We are entertainment. We are a restaurant. We're a bar. We're everything.
Yep.
All in one.
You're just doing it on the water and boats.
We're doing it on the water and boats, and it's not easy. That's not an easy task either.
So COVID.
So during COVID, we were sitting around a table just like this, about 7 or 8 of us, our management team. And we were waiting. They said they were going to announce at noon or whatever what the decisions were going to be.
March 12th, 13th, 14th of 2020.
Yep. And we're sitting there, and on TV, the governor of Kentucky got on TV and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to follow the direction of the president, and we are going to shut down. Everybody is shutting down for 2 weeks." Now, I heard that, and I processed it, and I went, you know what? 2 weeks. I think we can do that. And we did. Now, we shut down. I went on unemployment. My wife went on. We had no income. And all of the during that 2 weeks, my wife said, "What happens if this goes a little longer than 2 weeks?" I said, "Well, I would not like to think about that, but if it does, maybe we'll have to see." And she said, "Are you talking about taking money out of our account and putting it into the business?" I said, "That's what you have to do." And of course, it was about a week later, they said that it was going to be a couple months. And I started to get worried, but I said, "It's okay. But just everybody stay cool and calm." For the next 6 months, I was writing personal checks to cover payroll. Now, that is the true definition of an entrepreneur, because although the bank did help, the bank was understanding. They could have called the loan. Banks do what they do, but they have no emotion on any of the things that they do. They could care less. It's Alan Bernstein and BB Riverboats. They could care less.
They'd forget your 30 and 40-year relationship real quick.
That's exactly right.
It's business to them.
It's
unfortunate, but it is.
And if you can't make any payments, then
they'll find somebody else too.
Absolutely.
They'll sell it off cheaper and find somebody else too.
Absolutely. And I did call the bank, and it's very fortunate, which would be another recommendation in entrepreneurship, is you ought to know who you're dealing with. Yep. You need to know the banker, not the bank. You need to know the guy that's going to make those decisions, and you need to get to know him, and he needs to get to know your stuff,
your commitment, your business, that
right.
You're all in, right? What your integrity is, principles, values.
It is critical to know those people, the accounting, a base of people need to know who you are and what you're doing. And our bank was absolutely, it was, the funny part is we had gotten away from big banks maybe 8 or 9 years before.
How fortunate were you?
Absolutely unbelievable that we did that, because the big bankers didn't have a lot of
They don't have a lot of pull.
No,
they don't. Local relationships don't have a ton of pull.
So we went to the little bank. It's not a critical piece that you go do business with a local bank, but it is when it comes to the chips and when they go down. So we were very fortunate.
It was probably BB&T or something, or one of those locals or something.
Well, in this case, it was
give them some press. Give them some.
Well, they deserve it. This was Heritage Bank.
Oh yeah, good Northern Kentucky bank.
And we had dealt with a guy for a long time, and he was still there, but he retired soon after all of that. But we had a great relationship with him. He enjoyed BB. He would come. He'd entertain people from out of town, and his family would come. And
good relationship.
It was a great relationship, and that pays off when the chips go down.
And they will. You stay in business long enough.
Absolutely.
They will.
Listen, we've gone to banks and said, we're sorry, we can't continue to do this. And they said goodbye, and they foreclose or they
take it,
yep. and do what they need to do with it.
You know what the worst part in business? This is what I've learned. I'm trying to take my advice that I've learned more all the time. The worst thing is if you know to give the advice to actually take it yourself. I don't know why it's so tough at times, but the important part is that they seem to be willing to lend you a lot of money when you really don't need it. But when you need it, they're not there.
That is nail on the head.
It's tough to figure that one out.
Well, it is, but here's how it works. The more money you have and the less you need the bank, they are much more secure because they say, well, if he fails, he's going to write me a check.
They're all about risk. They're risk averse. Banks are risk averse.
And they ought to learn that a better way to do business is to assess it for themselves and not what all the actuarials and all the science and stuff that they use. They ought to get to know who they're lending
the person. Money to. That's what it is. It's about the person. It's not about the business. Who's the person I'm dealing with? Is that person going to keep fighting? Because if they can get through a bad business cycle with you, if you're someone that doesn't give up, if I've proven I can run a successful business in the past, I'm going to do it again. Stick with me. I'm going to get your money.
And it's funny. I bet everybody says that to them, and they still make these. They're not terrible decisions. They're decisions that are non-emotional. That Alan Bernstein's such a great guy. We got to give him a chance. That's not the way it's done.
Yeah. But you did develop some good relationships that did pay off in this moment.
And they did. You are correct.
All right. So 6 months of pain during COVID.
Writing checks out of my account, and my wife watches that money like it's
a hawk, like she's a hawk on it.
And she said, I don't know how long you're going to continue to do this, but we're running out. We are personally. And I said, we're going to do this as long as we can. As long as, if we have money, that's where it's going. I said, we're not going to have dinner tonight, but we're going to give them money. And my employee, let me just say that because it's ended, and I can say that my employees absolutely appreciated every dime I put in. And many have come up to me. You wouldn't expect them to. Many employees came up to me and said, Mr. Bernstein, thank you very much for not shutting down, not closing, not laying everybody off, getting us work. And listen, we cleaned windows and washed the boat, and nothing to do with our business, to be honest.
So why'd you do that?
I think it's what my father would have done. I think. He's not here to ask him. And I felt obligated because I really thought that when this is all over, and, business is a cycle. There's good cycles and there's bad cycles. I really felt that when this passed, we would be in great position to continue on. Now, my brother didn't agree with that. I mean, he again, he's an analytical engineer, and I said we need to fight to keep this business alive, and it was risky. I mean, when you talk about risk, I mean, this is This is real 100% a living risk that
You're putting your entire livelihood and everything your family built at
we would have
risk.
lost everything.
Yeah, everything.
I'm going to tell you, if the bank said we're calling a loan,
It's all over.
Alan's going to be among the homeless creatures.
It's all over. Yep.
And
which has happened to many people.
Absolutely. And sometimes they were at fault, and the result should have happened the way it happened. But in my case, I was doing what I thought was the best. And many, many of my employees appreciated what we did. And listen, I have buddies in the boat business. A lot of boat businesses went out of business. They didn't go bankrupt, but they simply said, I don't want to do this anymore.
It's too hard.
It's too hard.
Too much pain.
And listen, it is hard. There's not a day that you go by that you're not assessing, should we go, is the weather good? Is the weather bad? Should we go out? Tornadoes and, we can go out, and you have to do that every day of your life. And some people get tired of that.
So why do we do it? Why do the long-term entrepreneurs do it?
Well, I have a drive. I think personally, you can see my personality.
I love it.
And I have a drive to not fail. And we have failed many times as a family, but again, it's how you take the failure and how you process all of that to say, okay, this is going to make me better down the road and not tear me apart. A lot of people say, well, I'm a failure and I'm giving up. And that's easy. That's real easy. Just close the doors and I'm done.
But you know what's hard about it? Every day they wake up and they have to revisit that every day the rest of their life.
That's right. That's right. And I have tried to convey to both of my children, who are my daughter's now running the entire operation. My son helps her with all the finances and all the money. I have told them, don't ever get cocky about a good decision, because Mother Nature is going to turn that right around and give you a bad one. And
it's tough to be right all the time, isn't it?
Well, I'm not right all the time, because I can tell you I have made a lot of mistakes personally. I'm not a well-educated. Here's the funny part. My sister and my brother are both masters, and the one's an engineer and she's a therapist and a speech and hearing therapist. They went to a lot of school. I dropped out of college after my second year. My dad said, Alan, you're wasting my money and your time. You're coming to work for me. And that was the turning moment. I said, okay, I think I've had enough of school and I could do better working. I could, make some money. I didn't have a wife at that time, no kids. So I didn't need much. My dad paid me $50 a week salary, not an hourly rate. And I had to work probably about 75 to 80 hours to qualify for the $50 a week.
Sounds like an equitable deal.
Oh, well, my dad thought so. And he told me later on, he said, I did that because you need to know what an effort is versus money, and the pay, the difference, the payoff between those two, and hard work is the answer to almost every question. He said, if you can learn to work hard, I have no fear you're going to do good. And when I say working hard, you have to do things that no one else will do. You're tired and you want to go home and go to bed, and you've still got to perform at a good level. And you have to learn that that's the key to success. You can go to school for years and they can teach you all the book knowledge you want to know. But until you get out there and really start to do it.
See, that's what this world has this, we're starting to agree more now that I'm pro-education, but here's what the world hasn't framed properly, because education has become an institution and a business. What you did was education too.
Yeah, the hard way.
100%. But that education that you were going through when you're working for your dad at 19, 20, and you decide to do that, that was actually a higher level education with the amount of time that you talked about committing. Your compounded learning that happened when you were 20, 22, 24, and 26. So I'm not anti-traditional education in a classroom, but what you were doing was a higher level, greater impact type of education. It just was.
Well, and I will say this. I am also very much, I think education is the key.
It's the unlock to life.
It's the unlock to life. You need education. You got to learn math and science and all the things that they tell you. Read a book and all this stuff, because it's a key to you being successful.
Absolutely.
So, but here's what I think colleges and universities today are not teaching our kids. You can teach them all the book stuff you want, but until they get out and start doing work and teaching them that hard work is the answer.
And problem-solving skills.
Well, you have to solve problems when you work.
All day long.
It never ends.
That's it.
It never ends.
And the more problems you're willing to solve, the higher level ability that you develop. It's just fascinating, isn't it?
It is. And I think colleges and universities certainly have their role. But unless you're going to go to Harvard, which I would never even think that I could do, a quality education is more about what you get from that education than anything else that they can teach you.
You know, I was listening to one of the national podcasts that have millions and millions of users, and I don't know which one it was or who was on, but they said there was a recent study that one of the Fortune 500 businesses did in the country, and they did a study from their Harvard Ivy League graduates and graduates from SEC schools, and there was no greater improvement of performance of their employees that came from Ivy League schools or the SEC schools.
I think it is. I think that is a very well put statement, and I don't want to put down Harvard.
No, MIT. There's probably brilliant people.
There are.
It is what it is.
Listen, my brother was going to head to MIT. He thought that was the way to get to the astronaut corps.
Yeah,
but he didn't need NIT. It was here at the University of Cincinnati. After Neil Armstrong got on the moon, he went and taught at UC.
That's the point, right? Like education, you can go find it anywhere. And now in today's world, with the internet, with the books that are being written, the access that we have to information, we don't have to do these traditional lines.
Well,
we don't have
take
to
your phone out. You can access the world.
It's insane.
It is insane.
It's insane.
I still marvel at personal phones.
What's
I remember Dick Tracy. I remember.
No, you don't. Stop.
Oh, yes, I
No,
do.
you don't.
I remember Dick Tracy on TV, and he was talking in his watch.
You don't remember
I
Dick
remember
Tracy.
Dick Tracy. And listen, the Jetsons, they had that bro butt for the maid or whatever her name was. And here it is. It's coming true. I remember Dick Tracy.
You don't remember Tracy.
I'm not lying. I watched Dick Tracy on a black and white TV.
Oh, here we go, right?
Yeah.
And how many miles did you have to walk through the snow to go to school, too?
Oh, miles, all uphill. Both ways was uphill.
What is it like operating boats on a river? It's a blanket
Great
statement,
question.
right?
Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to know what you're going to encounter. So you want to know weather. I mean, this is airlines, boats, trains. You want to know your weather. You want to know the current conditions. You want to know certainly all the factors that are going to get in the way, so to speak. Once you've assessed that and you're okay, that's everything's good. Now, how many passengers do we have, and where are we going to? That's another part of the assessment. Is the boat operating? You talk to the engineer. You say, "Hey, how are the engines? What's going on?" Oh, everything's going good. We got everything online. Everything. And then you get up to the pilot house and you go through all of your checks to make sure that what the engineer told you is true. Because I have had engineers say everything's great, boss, and not everything's great. And when you get out there and you're confronted with towboats, pleasure boats, other passenger boats, things have to work, i.e. the big ship that hit the bridge in Baltimore.
I was going to bring that up.
They did not tell him what was going on properly. They had previous trouble, but what happened is that boat went dark. He was going 8 miles an hour, which
pretty fast. It's pretty fast, isn't it?
For a boat, that's a mega boat. That's a huge ship.
Try stopping that thing.
I think he had 8,000 or 80,000 containers, whatever it was.
It was enormous.
It was enormous. Now, when you go dark, I mean, there's no lights, there's no power, no nothing, no radios. A lot of your radios are hooked to power, but you still have control of the boat. You have to have control of the boat. Now, he did not. He lost everything. And I can only imagine of what the pilot is now thinking in about a minute and a half. He says, I'm going to hit that bridge. And a minute and a half later, he hit the bridge. Now, I don't think anybody expected the bridge to fall. I certainly wouldn't. If I hit a bridge with the Bell of Cincinnati, I would not expect much damage to the bridge or the structure or anything else.
Old engineering, right?
Well,
you think so?
You know what? I think that was not a brand new bridge, but older bridges probably do a lot better in that situation because they were built well. Try to knock down the suspension bridge. That's solid limestone. Those piers.
You're
solid.
You're going to mess your boat up.
Oh my God. The boat's going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
But that bridge isn't coming down.
Yeah.
It's just not coming down.
Yeah.
Now, the pilot really in that moment, he's dead in the water. He's going 8 miles an hour and he knows what's in front of him.
He knows where the current's going. He sees what's going to happen.
He knows
There's
everything.
Zero doubt where it's going.
He sees with his own eyes the result of this accident. And I'll be honest with you. I was shocked that the boat did as well as it did, considering there is a bridge laying down on top of the boat.
What could have happened?
I guess it could have split it apart. Yeah, sure. And if the boat was making water, now you got a real problem because if you'd have no power, you have no way of getting the water out. Now, the key to water coming in is the ability to get the water out. And all boats have that as long as you have power. But when you and that's why there are many generators. We have 3 generators.
Backup for the backup for
backup to backup, and then the emergency. That's preparedness.
Yeah.
That's knowing that you should be very aware. Now we can carry 1,000 passengers, so here we go with risk. You are now having to assess risk every day. When I go up to the pilot house, it's not just is my boat running? Are my passengers okay? If I have a problem, an engine goes down or whatever, are my passengers going to be? Do I need to go to the riverbank and get everybody off? If we have a small fire, is a small fire a big fire? Is it a small fire? Do I need to get everybody off the boat? Which is our standard. If we have a fire, the boat goes to the bank, we get people off, get help from the fire department, and we deal with it.
Yeah, you deal with whatever the aftermath is.
When you're in the ocean, 850 miles from anywhere, what do you do? Well, you got to put them into lifeboat. It's a bad. But again, you have to assess the risk of that situation happening.
Do you, the pilot that landed in the Hudson, Sully? Remember both of his engines went up birds?
Yeah.
I mean, what everybody said, I think they tried to reproduce that, and no one could, and land that successful level flight. No one passed away. Boats aren't traveling at that speed.
No.
Right? He's having to make
now
probably
when he got into the water with it, he probably was doing boat speed.
There you go.
He was just floating down the river or whatever it was. But
you have a little more time. You should. We're sitting here talking about things, but you should have some more time.
Oh, we've got a lot more time than airline guys.
Yeah, if something happens, an engine goes out.
When their engines, a jet does not glide very well. A jet just sort of comes down.
Unless you're at 30 or 40,000 feet, they can probably control it more, right?
Yeah, they glide a little bit.
But when you're taking off, you got issues.
Right?
You got issues.
And landing, same thing.
Yeah.
They say that flying an airplane is 2 minutes of terror, followed by 2 hours of nothing and landing 2 minutes of terror.
Again.
Now, driving a boat is not that way, and we don't perform that way either. We have riverbanks to get to on the river. We're fortunate. The guys that are out in sea, what they would do is simply wait for help. And that's what they deal with. If they are, 200, 300 miles from shore, they have to wait for help. And in most cases, the boats are built to withstand that. I mean, we have firewalls and we have brakes and all that stuff is there.
They're engineering marvels. I mean, they really are.
They
amazing.
are. And listen, let me tell you, the United States Coast Guard does not let passenger boats go out there that are not fully inspected to be the way they should be.
I bet the Coast Guard's awesome. They don't get any love from us.
No, they don't. And even us in business, a lot of times we go, damn that Coast Guard. And we really don't mean that, but in a situation,
procedural stuff and all that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because they do a great job. And those young men and women, there's not one I could really tell you is just a terrible person. They're smart people. These are real smart.
They're quality humans, boy, aren't they?
They are, and they have families just like I do. Their career is in the military. Mine is in business. It's all really the same, and it is an interesting dynamic when a young Coast Guard officer comes. He's
talks to Mr. Bernstein. He's been doing it for 40
he has an
some
opportunity
years.
to talk. He or she has an opportunity to talk to me, and one of her first questions is, "Well, how long have you been doing this, Mr. Bernstein?" I said, "Well, this is my 54th year." And I don't know their reaction to that. Some probably go, 54 years.
That old man.
Yeah. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
It's the new world. But some have massive respect of it.
Absolutely. And they should, because I don't have the confidence in the Coast Guard officer that the experience they have can help me get through my problem or my issue.
Those 54 years are real.
It's every day.
That's
it's
real. That's real.
And every day I send a boat out on the river, there is risk every day.
What causes you the toughest sleepless night? Maybe you don't have them anymore because you've dealt with so much risk, but around your operations running the business, is there one thing that causes you less sleep?
Yeah. I think in high water, where the current is running at a very fast pace, 3, 4, 5 miles an hour, and they're out on a cruise, and it's as safe as it is when it's in pool stage. The current's running more, but it's not any more riskier. It's just, if something does happen, you're not going sitting in the water. You're going down the river.
Going down river.
Yeah,
a long way maybe.
Yeah. Now, our boats have anchor. All commercial boats are required to have anchors and other things that can help you. There are other boats out there 24 hours a day that can help you. So I don't have the fear that we're going to lose the boat and all of the people on it. Yeah. I mean, if you were scared of that, you wouldn't be in the business.
Right on.
I mean, you would say, no, I'm not going to do that.
How deep is the Ohio River?
In normal, 26 feet. So in a normal day in Cincinnati, the top 3 decks are out of the water when it sinks totally. When the boat goes down and sits on the bottom of the river, top 3 decks are out of the water. So that's fine. Now, when you get high water, maybe the top deck and maybe not, depending on the height of the river. So
we'll be like the rats, boy. If a boat goes out,
you see them cut. Oh yeah, they come out of anywhere. They come out of windows and yeah.
Why does it seem like that big river is so much deeper than that? It just seems like it is to me because I don't know.
Well, there are deeper parts of the Ohio River, but the river. Again, this is going back to the Ice Age when it cut its way through all the bends and turns. It didn't cut a deep hole. That's, they say Lake Tahoe's 250, 300 feet deep.
That's decent.
Well, we're 26 feet. That's pretty good. I mean,
you know what we can do? We can put the same boat on both of them. Right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would not be in this business if I didn't think it was safe.
Yeah. You absolutely.
That the risk assessment is such that it's on my side. Favors me, not Mother Nature or what disaster.
We're way more safe on your boat than any individual that owns. You have way more experience on what the heck you're doing. You're in your business than any one of us individually take a boat out on a lake or boat on a river. We're not mentally prepared for all the things that could happen.
Oh no,
We're
and you're not. And as a pleasure boater, not only are you not prepared, you don't probably have. I can tell you everything that you can imagine has probably happened to me on board a boat with passengers.
Yep.
We've lost power. We've lost electricity. We've
taken a fire or something.
Well, sure. We've had several fires.
Yep.
Now, the problem with fire is not my crew and my boat. The people that see fire, the passenger, he goes, I got to get out of here. And the only way to get out of here, overboard. And you got to keep all those people on board because they are much better off on board than they are in the water.
Yeah, you're going to get to a shore.
We're going to get to a shore and we're going to get you off.
Yep.
A lot better than you're going to swim in that water and do something.
All the danger. There's a lot of danger jumping in there.
It's a rule in excursion boating: 1 passenger in, 1 dead.
Yep.
2 passengers in, 2 dead. And unfortunately, that happens.
It does
often.
Yeah.
And you get a passenger in a pleasure boat says, I'm going for a swim. And they go out there.
Never come back.
And never come back.
Why is that? Why do we hear about these things that you'll hear that somebody just jumped off the boat and went for a little swim on a lake and they just don't come back? What happens in all these moments?
Well, if you've ever been in a pool and had a cramp, you'll know how debilitating that is. And just imagine you're in a navigable river and boats everywhere and you have a cramp. And I don't know that that's the cause. I mean, it could be. Or you could get hit. The river doesn't, you can't see much below the water. There could be a piece of wood down there. There could be a rock. There could be, a lot of things. I don't know why it happens that way, but it seems to happen that way more. They jump over to take a swim and gone.
Yeah.
Current has a lot to do with that. But it's not a dangerous play. I think people take those kinds of stories and say, boy, that's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, that's way more dangerous to be on the road in our cars.
Absolutely. Yeah. Walking across the street in a crosswalk.
100%. Yeah.
You are much better off on an excursion boat in any kind. Now, we have to handle the situation. The crew, the professional people have to deal with it.
Got to be prepared.
And listen, we go to fire school and fight fires for weeks.
Yep.
And you come back from fire school and you have learned to never have a fire, not anywhere. We are not going to have a fire here. Mm-hmm. And we preach to our galley people. We preach to our stewards and the waitresses and the bartender. We don't want to have a fire. And a lot of them get it. A lot of them get it. We take a kid that doesn't know the bow from the stern and teach them how to be a deckhand and fight a pretty good fire.
Yep. Do we have, I've heard this recently. We have my real estate company. We're going to have a golf outing on May 31st at Devou, 27 teams. And we're raising money for, I think, Northern Kentucky Water Rescue.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like they're one of the top ones in the country.
They are. They're an excellent organization.
Why are they? What makes them?
Well, I think they train well. They use a lot of volunteers that have certain knowledges, whether it's a swimming knowledge, maybe they know how to teach people how to swim or how to fight a fire, or
scuba,
EMT, scuba. They're EMTs, so they can deal with some of those emergencies. They're an excellent organization, and I support them dearly. I think there are a lot of my employees are volunteers for the water rescue.
Awesome.
And I encourage that. You want to volunteer. It's a great organization. They have boats, and they maintain them well. So it's a good organization. It's a solid organization. I don't know if they need volunteers, but I would certainly put in a plug. Hey, if you want to volunteer on the river, they'll train you before they ever let you get out there. But it's a good organization.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What is not about you operating your business, but what's the biggest challenge for any of us to be on a fast-moving river? What's the biggest challenge? Any boat, and what's the thing? What makes it so challenging?
Okay. Well, a fast-moving river creates several off challenges. When you get in the water, you're not going to stay by the boat. You're moving. If the water's moving 4 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour doesn't sound very fast. But when you're in that water and you're going with the current, 4 miles is a NASCAR speed. And you don't know what to do. You're sort of now cold water, which everybody should know, cold water totally debilitates your body's ability to function.
Hypothermia, all the stuff.
It's immediate, almost immediate. Some people pass out because they've hit. But just try to go into ice cold water, and see how you like it.
It'll hit you.
It makes your brain not function.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's instant. So a lot of people in fast-moving cold water are instantly debilitated. They can't do anything, so they drown. I mean,
and your brain's not going to make good decisions.
And your arms to swim. Everybody goes, well, I can float on my back, and I'll go. You can float on your back for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then hypothermia is going to overcome you. You're going to die. So you can float all you want, but the reality is, in a certain amount of time, you're going to die. So you want to get out of water, and let me tell you, I have been in cold water, and I swear I would never get back in cold water. And sometimes we just to make the point, we tell our crew member, take your shoes and socks off. Just step in there. Now, don't put your whole body. Just step in there. And oh my God, you ought to see them.
It's like I saw a snake.
It is. Even your foot is immediately a pain.
Yeah.
It's pain.
What do you love about Cincinnati?
Well, I've other than my Ecuador visit, I've lived in Cincinnati the rest of my life. I like Cincinnati because it's a big city, but it's a small city. Cincinnati doesn't have all the problems that you hear about around the country, around the world. I don't know if it's our Midwest value or I think Cincinnati's a very, what do you call it? It's a melting pot of immigrants, of Americans who came here to work for P&G or General Electric or Kroger or whatever, and they like it here because we don't have a ton of traffic. We don't have a ton of problems with crime, although Cincinnati's not been, left out of the cities that have had problems. But
not near the homeless problem that you hear about a lot of places.
Well, yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's all these cultural things that you're talking about that we found a way to overcome most of them.
Well, I think Cincinnati does a pretty good job, saying you're not going to live on the street here. You're going to go to a shelter, or you're going to go to, and I think one of the nice things is Cincinnati has several that you can go to. Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, the suburbs. It's a good place to live. The value of life here is good.
Why is it? I feel the same thing. I've traveled quite a bit. I probably haven't traveled as much as you, but I've traveled quite a bit. Been around the country, been to a few places internationally. I'm not a big international traveler, but
yep.
I'm always trying to figure out, does this feel special to me because it's home? Or does it feel special because it just feels better than most places?
That's a great question. I have never enjoyed big cities. Big. I love to go to New York. I love to visit there. My sister lives in New York. She loves it there. I wouldn't give you 5 cents to live in New York. Now, New York might be the greatest city in the world. Could be. I still wouldn't move out of Cincinnati. I think this is a very comfortable city. I love 4 seasons.
Do you? Because I get mad at winter.
Well, it depends.
I mean, I complain a little bit.
It depends on how you take winter.
Yeah.
My
expectation
4
is
seasons to me is very important because I love spring and fall the most.
I love fall.
Spring and fall. Fall is by far the prettiest.
We agree. Why?
I don't know.
But
fall is the prettiest.
It just feels good.
Now spring, you start to smell flowers and you hear birds chirping.
And we're coming out of the winter.
And you're coming out of the winter, and
boats probably aren't fun to operate in the winter.
No, if it's cold outside, it's cold inside.
Engines, everything it does.
Now, we don't do that to our passengers. Our passengers are quite comfortable, but the crew doesn't like winter.
Yeah. Summer's way better.
It's a tough one.
I bet summer's the best.
Well, summer is, but summer could be 110 degrees outside.
That's a whole other problem.
I got news for you. That engine room's probably 120 degrees.
How about those guys?
Yeah, and they live down there. I mean, it's. But they do it, and most of those guys love it.
They love it.
They love it.
Yeah.
It's a if you like engines and
it's
systems,
a place to be, isn't it?
Oh my God!
And it's their world. Nobody's down there messing with them.
No, they don't. They don't have to have any passengers in their way.
They're
they
responsible.
Just live
they take
in their
pride
own world.
in it.
They're special people.
Yeah, they are.
They really are, and that's why I regard my brother as a very special. Engineering is all in its own a special thing.
So we love this city. I think it just feels I think we probably take it for granted too much, like we do anything good in life. We probably do.
Probably.
We do.
Probably.
But when you sit and really think about it, of all the things we have, there's nothing that we want for that we can't have right here at our feet.
I was going to, we've got theater here. All the things that you think are a part of quality of life, we have it here. And if we don't, maybe Indianapolis has a show you can go to. So you drive an hour and it's okay.
We're so spoiled. I was dropping my significant other. I'm trying to drop names, but I was dropping her off at the airport. She went to Mexico for all inclusive for 5 days, spring break. She's an educator, and so I was dropping her off, and it took me.
Is she one of the girls going wild on?
I hope not. I hope not. But if she just don't record it. How about that, Alan? Just don't record it. You know what I did to her though? You know what's funny? Here's what's funny. We had the eclipse.
Yeah.
And so she said, "Hey, will you FaceTime me when the eclipse is happening?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So I go out here on the balcony and point it up, and then she's like, "Well, let me show you this." There's the ocean and the beach and all that. So
sure.
Yeah. So she's going wild for sure. I don't know if the girl's going wild. I don't know. That guy's in jail, Alan. So I think, but it only took me 13 minutes to get from leaving home to dropping her off at the gate. I mean, that is not the experience in many cities in this country.
Yeah, absolutely.
That we get to live this close, live these good lives in good neighborhoods, have everything we want. Yeah, so it's special. We need to quit complaining, man, because we got an awesome life.
Well, and in Cincinnati, just you can just imagine this. Cincinnati is not a big area.
33rd largest MSA in the country.
So you can just about go anywhere you want to go.
30 minutes.
At the most. I would think that Kings Island might be the furthest.
35, 40 maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
depends.
The way I drive, it's probably.
You like me. Fast.
10, 15
fast.
Yeah. But I don't drive boats fast. I mean, that's the irony. Those NASCAR guys, they drive their cars fast.
Have you ever driven a NASCAR?
No, I have been in a race car, not a real NASCAR. I don't know that I could do that.
I got to drive one.
Did you really?
Yeah, down at Charlotte for a 3-day course. It was awesome.
I was going to say it has to. When I get to 85, I get a little nervous. I get a little nervous.
That's just where I start.
That's neutral for a race car. But I did what is it, I-80 or the northern interstate that goes along the north part of the United. I think the speed limit there is like 85.
Is that like Montana and all the Dakotas and all that?
The Dakotas. I mean,
they
there's
don't
no
even care.
cars.
It goes fast as you want. It's like our Autobahn, maybe.
Yeah, right. And I got up there in the 80s, and it was a little uncomfortable. I don't know that I could get over 90. I just don't know.
100's fun.
It isn't. But what's the difference between 100 and 120?
Not too much.
Yeah, not much.
I've driven over 120 on a car on the highways.
Well, I can't say I've done that.
And that gets a little funky.
Although I have been picked up for speeding a lot.
Yeah, I've gotten some tickets.
I do hold the record in the state of Kentucky.
For amount of tickets?
No.
Oh, now the guys are going wild here, y'all. Right, we got on the road.
Wait a minute. Since it's just between us two.
No, but yeah, 5 or 6 people listening.
Yeah, 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
I was going to Louisville for a meeting, and I was late. I'm flying down the interstate, and a state patrolman pulls me up.
Ooh, they can be mean.
They can be. But he was not. He's a Mr. Bernstein. You have to calm down. You can't go this fast. It's a busy highway. I said, officer, I promise that I won't. And I thought, well, he's going to let me off. And he didn't let me off. He wrote me a normal ticket.
Reduced the
Yeah. And so I get to the meeting. The meeting's over in about an hour, and I'm on my way back.
No.
Yeah.
No.
The same patrolman picked me up, and he said, Mr. Bernstein, you are going to jail. I am arresting you for not, now I'm begging. I'm saying, I am sorry, officer. I am just so sorry. But I'm running late back. So he said, well, I am not reducing the ticket. So the unreduced ticket put me over on points. And I get a letter from the state that we're revoking your driver's license. And so you need to appear in court on this date and this time. So
you get your attorney.
I get the attorney, and I said, yeah, I'll do anything to keep my license, and I'll go on probation or whatever. So I get to the courthouse, and my attorney's there, and we go up, and they go, Bernstein versus the state of Kentucky or whatever. And I get up there, and the judge looks familiar to me, but he goes, Bernstein. He said, let's see, is your father Ben? And I said, yes, my father is Ben. So now I'm
You're feeling good.
I'm
getting
great.
my driver's license. This is awesome. We're
and
good.
His response is, I hate that son of a bee. I went, no. How can you have such great emotion followed by such disappointment?
Your Honor, I agree.
Oh, I did. I said, Your Honor, I am sorry. I was in a hurry. He said, I'll do you a favor. He said, you're going to have to go to driving school. And I didn't want to tell him that I had been to driving school several other times.
I got hold the record there, sir.
I said, I could probably teach that course by now.
So you didn't say that.
No, I didn't say that, but I sort of felt like I wanted to.
What did he say? You can't get another ticket in a certain time frame. What did he say?
He said, if you get one parking violation, I'm going to take your license away. And I said, sir, he says, 1 year. If you're here in a year, you're in a lot of trouble.
So that was the only 12-month period in your life that you didn't get any tickets, you didn't get violations.
Well, I didn't even want to drive.
You should have hired a driver. You should have hired a driver.
I should have hired a driver is what I should have done. That's exactly
How long ago was this?
Oh, gosh. It had to be 25 years ago, maybe longer.
You haven't slowed down since.
Well, I have. The older I get and more grandkids I have, it sort of starts to wear on you that, I shouldn't do that.
So are you one of those people that, the speed limit says 45 now and you're driving 22 and I'm behind you and I'm like, there's that old son of a bitch I've been waiting.
Well, I get very irritated at very slow drivers.
I do too.
Very irritated.
So you haven't slowed down that much.
Well, here's the thing. On the interstate, they have 3 lanes or 2 lanes. One is for the slower driver.
Yeah, and that's the right side. They don't know that. They haven't figured that part out.
But anyway, my driving, and I have to be careful because I'm a pilot now. My pilot's license becomes in jeopardy too.
Yep.
Because the Coast Guard looks at
hard
every
stuff,
piece,
don't
every your medical history, your driving history, your criminal history, your mental. Now, if they really looked at mental, they wouldn't give me. They would not give me. No, they wouldn't.
What are you?
And my employees would agree with
they're
you.
like, yeah, come on, guys.
They'll hear this and they'll go, yeah.
What is the business ready for the next generation with your son and daughter?
I believe it is better. And my dad made sure that we were in pretty good shape. But we had failures even after Dad passed away. Again, I did not fear when he passed away that we would still be able. A lot of family businesses,
second generation's tough.
They don't.
Yep.
They don't make it.
Yep.
I will tell you this: my daughter and son are in great position in almost every way. Now, how they run that and how they actually do it is their deal. They have a lot better ideas than I do because I'm old, and they're in touch with all the young things that are going on, and they have done things at work that are tremendous. I would never have even, this Taylor Swift thing. Just whether you like her or not.
I'm not going to say anything.
What I'm telling you is, as a person that watched that whole scene, I'm not a Taylor Swift.
You're not a Swiftie.
I'm not a Swiftie. No. I wouldn't run around in a pink laced dress.
Let me tell you something. I'll let you get back on. Alan, I wouldn't go to a party if she personally invited me. How about that? That's all I'm going to say.
Well,
I wouldn't go.
And is that a personal thing with you?
I think
was she mean to you?
No, here's what I think. I don't think she's as talented and as skilled as this world's made her out to be. I think she's been a generational pop star icon. Yeah, she's written these songs and all that, but I just don't listen to those, and I'm just not like, wow, that's a great song. And so now I would say the same things about a lot of male artists and all this. I don't get. Yeah, it just doesn't. I don't know.
Well, but normally you would say that about a person who
I think is an amazing artist. Yeah, no,
or did something terrible to you.
I just think this world, has outrage culture, both positive and negative. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, something catches fire and you can't explain it. I don't know. I just don't get it, man. I don't get it. It's one of those things. I just don't get it.
I'll just tell you this.
Yep. Give it to me. It was great for you.
No. There was. I thought it is an amazing human story that this little girl had a talent. She can write music or write songs.
Listen, I want to fight with you about something because you're so nice and I like you so much. So keep going here.
And I don't know how you can argue with the fact that she's become as popular as she has. There's a lot of young girls and boys that relate to her.
And parents. But what part are they relating to?
Well,
they don't know why.
That might be a good point. I don't know. I'm just Again, I'm not I don't listen to her music. There's
popular
a couple
cultural
songs.
icon is what it is. I get it, right? I don't know. I don't turn the music off and stuff.
But it's worldwide.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I mean, she went to Europe and set the records.
Yeah, I know. She picked a bad boyfriend, even though he went to UC. He talks a lot of shit about the Bengals. She picked a bad boyfriend. How about that? She picked a bad boy for a boyfriend. She did. He is a bad boy. That guy is a bad boy. You're not going to convince me any different.
Well, has he been bad to her?
No, he's probably been okay to her. That's all that matters. But he's a bad boy, and I don't like him. How about that? She picked a bad boyfriend. She seems happy as hell.
She does seem happy as hell.
Good for her. Good job, Taylor.
Yeah. And she's had some real dirt bags.
Well, you know what, though? Here's what I'm going to say. Every time she breaks up with a dude, she uses him for the next song.
Right. Which is usually the biggest hit she's had in years.
That's all I'm saying. I don't know, right? So
So there's going to be a
she's
Kelsey.
She's going to come up with a hip-hop song. She breaks up with his ass. He's going to do her wrong. He's going to do her wrong, Alan. He's going to do Swift. And then, boy, he better not. If he does, the Swifties will come after him.
He'll be a persona non grata.
It won't
Get out of here.
So, but you're saying about your son and daughter, about when she came to town, about just the business decisions and stuff.
See, I would have never paid attention. I wouldn't have known who Taylor Swift is. I would. So they said, let's take advantage of it and let's do this and let's do. Well, you want to do it? Go do it.
It was successful.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, that line around the block when people were just waiting to buy apparel.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
If I hadn't seen it, I really would not have believed it.
Yeah.
I would not have believed it.
Yeah.
I mean, there were people everywhere. Swifties were. Those
tickets were selling for crazy numbers
all over the world. It wasn't just Cincinnati; it's everywhere.
For a 2 or 3 hour show. I tried convincing.
They said the show is a really good show. I mean,
I'm sure
from a quality of a show.
I bet it's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm sure. So yeah, imagine the show the Beatles will put on now. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. Right. So, but she, there was somebody here that he was taking his daughter, and they had 2 tickets, and they were great seats. Somehow he got them in the. I don't know how he got them, but he could have sold the 2 tickets for I think $7,000 or $8,000. I went, that's an awesome vacation.
Why didn't you sell them?
Sell the damn tickets and take you, her, and your wife. You all go on an amazing. And he left his daughter up to the decision, and she went, "No, I want to go to the concert."
And I can tell you, my granddaughter,
same thing.
I love her to death. She would have absolutely gone to the concert. Now, we didn't have tickets, but
all your connections, you didn't have any Swiftie tickets?
Well, I didn't. Like I told you, I didn't know. It wasn't until my daughter said, "We've got to get doing something."
Grandpa.
What are you doing?
Grandpa.
Yeah. Oh, don't. We cannot. If there's any more than 5 or 6 people listening to this, I'm in trouble with my grand. If she knew I could get tickets, my employees, hell, we would have. If they could have all gotten tickets, we'd have had to close the business. They'd all been there.
So you could have gotten tickets. You just didn't let them know.
Well, I probably could have, but I didn't.
Are you a sports fan?
Oh, yeah.
Do you love
mean Bengals?
Yeah, just all
I like
stuff.
baseball, but I love college basketball. I'm not a big fan of professional basketball.
College basketball is becoming difficult for this one-and-done stuff for me, man. I don't know. And all these kids transferring.
Yeah, it is difficult.
It used to be good watching them. They come in as a freshman. Right. You see them progress and develop, and you know what the team's going to be. Yeah, it doesn't really. It seems like it's more professional now than it is college.
Well, in many ways, it really is because they know if they're a good player, they know what's in it.
Who's your team locally? Is there? Do you?
Well,
Xavier, UC,
I watch Xavier and UC probably equally. I mean, I root for them because they're Cincinnati and listen, Northern Kentucky University has done very well.
They have.
So we have some really good sports in Cincinnati. We're fortunate to have baseball and football professionally. I would say baseball, but baseball's much better, but it's all summer long. So we get the benefit of people coming to Cincinnati, going to a baseball game. Okay, what do we do tomorrow? And we get a lot of out-of-town baseball goers.
What do you think the next evolution of B&B Riverboats is, whether you're around to see it or not? Because one thing we're inevitably not going to do, we're not getting out of this life alive, none of us.
No, that would be very true.
So because you guys now have this event venue that's tied to the bank.
Yep.
It's a boat, but you tie it to the bank.
Yep.
So you have that. That was an evolution of your business.
It was, and it is still today. I would think that the evolution of the excursion boat business is going to be more about more entertainment, more what can we do to entertain people while they're on the boat that they would say, boy, that was a great experience and you ought to go do it. Whether that's getting Taylor Swift to do a performance on BB Riverboats or
you screwed that up. You came on here. I'm talking crap about her.
Oh no, I think she's a good looking girl.
Yeah.
And the outfits I think are outstanding that she wears.
I just don't get it.
So
come back to Cincinnati and get on the boat. But anyway, it's about entertainment on the boat.
Yeah, I think it's going to get much more about entertainment and what we can do differently on a boat that you can at a restaurant. Look, you go to Frisch's, you eat a hamburger and you leave. On a boat, you can eat a hamburger, but you can also get.
Could you have a boat where you have more than 1,000 people on it? What's the highest number that you could put on a boat that's ported here in Cincinnati and you go up and down the river?
Well, we're the largest. 1,000 passengers is the largest here in Cincinnati, but there are many boats. The president that came here in 1988, which is a boat from St. Louis, it came here. That was a 4,000 passenger boat.
Whoa,
4,000. I mean, the steamboats were big. When they built boats, they had to be big. And here's a secret: the only way to get a boat to draft to be in the water less is to make it bigger, wider. And so these big steamboats were wide boats, 100-foot.
What's the draft on those? They're not that deep, are they?
5 feet.
Yeah, it's wild.
The president drafts it at like 5-6 feet, but it's 90 feet wide.
Wow.
So
can that still go up and down all the big rivers?
Oh yeah. Well, and not anymore, but yes, it could. It certainly could. There's a boat for sale in New Orleans. It's a 4,000 passenger boat, but what am I going to do with that?
Well, that's what I was thinking about. You could actually, if you could figure out the entertainment thing, you could have bigger entertainment.
Absolutely.
If you could sell 4,000 tickets to a thing.
Yep.
Right.
And I'm not in the entertainment business. It's not my. It was never. The entertainment used to be being on the river, watching beautiful homes, or seeing boats go by, or waving to people, whatever. That's what it used to be.
Yeah.
It isn't going to be that way in the future. It's going to be, what can you do on this boat that'll be different? Maybe you make a shopping mall that floats up and
something.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, there were casinos on them, right?
Yeah.
Before the walls changed.
Oh yeah. For about 15 years, the casinos were building boats like they were nothing.
Like houses.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you excited about? So we're sitting here going into the summer of 2024. What is Alan Bernstein? What are you excited about?
Well, I think we're going to have a good year. We're in good position, business wise. Personally, my kids, I get to work with my kids every day. Nobody can understand the pleasure of that. My father said the same thing to me at the very end of his life. When we sat down and talked, he said, I just want you, because let me explain. At the very early years, my dad was pretty tough on me. And I wasn't revolting, but I was, why does he pick on me like this? Why is he on my butt and not on everybody else's? And he told me, he said, Alan, you had to know that I took you under my wing because I didn't think you were going to ever graduate from Harvard. And I said, well, you got that right. And you needed to learn how to work hard. You needed to learn that you can't ask people to do something if you're not willing to do it. If you are not willing to go clean a toilet, as bad as it is, don't ask your employees to do it. And I have done it. My first job at my dad's restaurant at 10 years old was cleaning toilets. 6 months.
You know how
don't ask me to do anything else for 6 months.
I think you know this, but people who haven't gotten to experience that environment, even though it was tough to be the kid, it was tough to be his kid for a little while.
Absolutely.
But you were so fortunate to have that.
It was the greatest thing that ever happened to Alan Bernstein. There's no doubt. To have a father that understood I needed help, that I needed direction, I needed everything he gave me. And he said, Alan, as much as we used to fight in the early years, that was only a part of what I was trying to get through to you. And I just can't say enough about how great it was. He was my best friend when he passed away. When he passed away, it was a bad day in Alan Bernstein's life. My mother was the greatest lady that I know. She too taught me an awful lot. Uh, she was not afraid. We had in Ecuador. She used to entertain heads of states that would come in from Europe, and oh my God, we had people. I was scared to death to be in the house with everybody. And she would get out, and uh, she, my dad and mom were probably the two greatest people. And listen, my daughter and son are great people to me too. And my wife, my wife and I celebrated 50 years last year.
Congrats, man. The two greatest people that you ever knew.
And not a lot of kids would say that about their parents. And I can say that about mine, but I think both of them knew that I needed help. Both of them. They could see, we have a master. She graduated from UC and got her master's there. Jimmy graduated from UC in engineering school, and then went on to the master's. My dad knew I was not in that group.
You know what's special about that? It's what's weird. I hope that our country culturally has a little comeback here, but I see consistently, and I think I know why, but it's unfortunate. I see consistently that parents now, they aren't willing to put their kids through the tough pain that your dad put you through, because I keep on hearing this. Well, I just want my kids to have a better life than me. I just want it to be easier for them. And I've said that's admirable. Like, okay, that's a good idea. But the problem is the things that you had to go through to become the person you are, it was necessary. And so they're taking away, I don't know how you're reflecting on your life, how you raised your kids, but you're taking away some of the adversity that is necessary, that when they face the tough things in life, for them to be able to deal with and conquer.
That's a really great statement. And it is probably true. But I think my kids, if they were here, my son would argue, but I think my daughter will tell you that Mary and I, my wife and I, have tried very hard to be able to leave them this legacy in good shape. And I think we've done that. Although I'm not retired yet, but my son and daughter probably think it's time that
they're spending more time. It's a good transition.
Yeah.
It's a good transition.
Yeah, it is. But I wouldn't trade working with my two kids for anything. I really wouldn't. My wife worked at work. She doesn't as much anymore, but we, as a family, now it's hard. Listen, when you have time at home and there's a problem at home, that usually brings problems to work.
It's 24/7.
It's 24/7
every part of your life.
And my kids are not into trouble. They don't do drugs. I can't tell you how many happy things they have done and gotten through all the times that they went through. I'm sure their friends, encouraged them to do whatever.
And probably did a few things you don't know about.
We all did. And that's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's part of being a kid.
Because I did a lot of things I never told my dad.
Yeah, 100%.
Or mom.
But as you get into adulthout, it gets serious, and then you start making better decisions.
You got it. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's true.
So your kids, you think, would you do it any different raising them?
That's a great question too. I have often assessed, would I do something different in my lifetime? If I could go back and say, would I change it? And I'm not sure that I would. I'm really, even the bad times with my father and the business, I think all of that made me better, made me understand some things that go on, not in everybody's life. I think very few people are ever brought up the way I lived in Ecuador for 5 years of my my learning years. my learning years was in Ecuador, and then I came home. I had a job in New York up in the Catskill Mountains on my first year home.
Work at a resort or something?
A resort.
There you go.
I was up in South Fallsburg, New York, and I got to experience that. I traveled all throughout South America and Central America, which I would have never done as a resident of Cincinnati. So I am very blessed. I really am. I'm
good.
blessed. I got cancer of the liver 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I got a transplant at the University of Cincinnati, and I am doing just fine.
You look like you're doing great.
I do. I feel good. It was a traumatic. I never thought I would hear you have cancer, and it shocked me. I have to tell you, it was a real blow, because you immediately go to, well, I'm dying. You know, I'm not going to be around very much longer, and I have said I would love to live till my granddaughter gets married. I'd love to see my grandson, but I think that's going to be a little bit of a stretch.
How old's he?
He is almost 5.5 years younger than my granddaughter.
Okay.
But my granddaughter's a very, very special young lady. Her mother is very special too. My son and his son, they have a very my son wants to take his son to every Major League Baseball stadium in the country before he's a teenager, before he's, and they're over halfway there. Every year they take both of them, all by themselves. They'll go 2 or 3, and I just think it's great.
That's awesome.
It is. It's great, and it sounds like I'm bragging.
No,
about myself,
no.
but
It actually doesn't. You know what it's talking about? Oh, you're talking about a life well lived.
Yeah, and I don't know that I would change it if I had an opportunity. I really don't. I don't know that.
The tough times are necessary for you to become the person that you are.
And I don't think our kids today, every kid, does. If you don't experience that, it's hard for you to understand it.
That's what I originally launched in on here. That so I don't have kids, a lot of nieces and nephews, but I don't. Probably not going to. 45, and but so it's easy for me to not to be emotionally involved, right? And I just see parents protecting their kids from some of the tough parts of growing up, and I think that's what creates the future human. I think the resilience that's needed to continue to go through life. I think you need to go through some tough stuff to realize you can accomplish and do hard things.
Well, I think you're right. I think that parents have a lot to blame.
And it's for good intentions.
They're
trying. I don't think they're intentionally doing it the wrong way, but I bet it's tough to sit and watch your kid go through a tough moment.
Oh yeah.
See that?
So
that's there you go.
My daughter was married. This is probably the worst. Was married to a young man here. He went to the Gulf War and was killed. And it wasn't that moment that when she said Nick is dead. It was really the moment when all of it came together and we had a funeral, and thousands of people lined the street to say goodbye to a soldier they did not know. They did not know. And my daughter kept saying, I don't know why this is happening to me. And I tried to comfort her in the way I said, Terry, we're going to get through this. It's terrible. But you have not only your husband's memory now, but you've got a big business to take care of, and you got to stay focused. And this should be a moment that you take and store it. And when you need it, you'll understand what I'm trying to say. And she was devastated. There's no other way. My wife was devastated. It's hard that your kid is going through that. Would it be easier if it was my grandfather that was killed? I don't know. Here's your baby girl, not knowing what to do. And it's life-changing. Yeah. People don't always understand what the military does. They do things their way, which they did. The ceremony was tremendous. The Army was great to Terry. Great. They were great to all of us. The governor, you get to, you see these people because a soldier said, I'm going to war to protect our country. He believed that strongly. And he said, I understand that there's a downside to this. I understand it. It's risk. Yeah, back to risk. If you become a soldier, it's risky.
Sometimes it doesn't turn out well.
It does not turn out well. And my dad was in World War II. Now, he wasn't injured. He was, but there are people that make those decisions knowing that they may not come home.
Yeah.
And I don't think we respect them enough.
Yeah, we don't.
Those are the people I feel that deserve a lot more credit than they're given.
100%. They truly make our lives so much better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether we directly feel it or not, they do. You know what? I wish as a world, this is like up in the White Ivory Tower, and maybe this is the Knights of the Round Table. But I wish that it didn't take the worst of times to bring out the best in people.
Well, sometimes it does. I think we all know that sometimes it does. And
9/11, all these things.
Yeah.
I just wish we had the perspective just to do that in normal times. I wish that was.
Well, it would certainly be better to think. Yeah,
it'd be better for all of us, our country.
Yeah. It's.
I don't know. We're not going to solve the world's problems
no,
here today.
we're not.
So you brought us a B&B Riverboat Captain hat. What do we got here?
I brought it to you. They told me.
Well, you better bring something.
Well,
that's
what they said.
I mean, you
have to bring. See, people bring you bourbon. I can bring you bourbon.
You know what you told me?
It doesn't look like you need bourbon.
You told me that my significant other was girls going wild on vacation. You better bring me something.
See, now you as the captain, girls love a man in uniform.
I'm so over the hill at 45 now. She's still with me for some reason. I don't know, Alan.
Now, I will present you.
Oh, let's see this.
With your captain's certificate.
Okay, let's see this.
This is your honorary captain's certificate.
Okay.
To come down, and you can navigate. You'll come up to the pilot house.
Okay.
And you will be able to navigate the Belle of Cincinnati all on your own. Now, I won't leave the pilot house, but you'll get to steer. All on your own because you're an honorary captain. I don't let anybody do that unless they're
an honorary
captain.
So here's what's awesome. So thank you for this.
Oh, you're welcome.
This is fun. It's good for me selfishly to, I have a real estate company with 160 realtors and started 16 years ago. And I just love the entrepreneurs that came before me in our marketplace, in our city, because selfishly, there's always things I can learn. And so that I get to sit here for a couple hours. Yeah, some people are going to find out about B&B Riverboats. Well, somebody will buy a ticket.
Sure.
Taylor Swift might even come to town.
There you go. Yeah.
She ain't going to talk to me. But it's beneficial for me to spend time and to be around an Alan Bernstein because there's history and there's experience and there's relevant things that can't learn in a classroom.
That is absolutely true.
It just is. And so that I get
true.
to be around you, it's good for me. And I think it's good for us to, you know how we could go on the news and have a 3-minute segment? I'm sure you've done that a ton.
Yeah.
But you really don't get to know who we are and why in the background in those moments. And I like that we get to start to hear stories about entrepreneurs, about resilience, about the stories of the people making big impacts in our city. So thanks for this. But
you are welcome. And I will tell you this. I promote my we have a staff of about 150 people.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
And I tell them at our major orientation, I said, let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to work the hardest you've ever worked, but you're going to have a great time doing it because you're not just an employee. You have to be a family member to understand, and you have to know that a happy employee is going to do the best they can. If you're unhappy when you're coming to work, leave your unhappiness in the parking lot because when you come here, you're going to have to smile. I teach them two things. I said, this is not going to be a difficult job. I said, it's hard. Two things we ask you to do. Smile and be nice to everybody, not just your fellow employee, all the customers. I said, you're going to be asked, how long is your 1 hour sightseeing cruise? 1,000,000 times. But you know what? You're going to answer it the same. It's an hour long and you'll have a great time. That's the answer. Everybody that asks it, because you're going to have a smile on your face.
And they're going to have that logo on their shirt.
And they're going to have that logo on their shirt. And they're going to be nice. They're going to be smiling. And I can't ask you to do more. I can teach you things. And if you learn them, you learn them. If you don't, you don't. I can only tell you, you will work very hard here. And if it's 100 degrees outside, it's going to be 110 where you're working.
Yeah, it matters. You guys are an institution in the city, and it's important that those people are representing the thing that you've built and done the right way.
Well, and we tell them that. We said, look, you're not working for whatever, a white cat,
whatever it is. Here's the reality. This thing is a Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky institution. It just is. That's what they're working for, something that matters to this community that's not other places and other communities. It matters. And when they go out and put the smile on their face or the frown, they're going to represent you and everybody associated with that.
Well, and I said, that's all I'm expecting of you. This is not difficult. Yep. Put a smile on your face, leave everything at home, come to work, and be happy and smile.
Isn't it awesome, though, when they choose to do a good job, the person that they become? When people choose to do a good job, they become better every day. And then a form of them becoming better every day, they become a better human. They live a better life. Their life ends up being better, more capable, more money, more raises, more valuable. If they just care about doing a good job, if it's opening up the rope and letting them walk through, if it's saying hello, man, if you do a good job, it really matters.
I just want to tell you a short story.
Yeah.
We had a young man, went to Holmes High School, and came just by. He walked by and he came in and he said, how do you get a job here? And I said, well, what do you do? Or he said, well, I'll learn anything you want to teach me. Oh, okay. So I said, be here, tomorrow about 4:00. I'll get you, you come in, you do your paperwork and we'll get you
and all the stuff.
We'll get you started. He worked for us about 8 or 9 years. Graduated from college. This is a kid in the ghetto here in Covington.
Tough part of Covington, Holmes High School.
Tough part of Covington.
Yep.
His mother was a gem of a lady. And she told him, you are not going to be in the ghetto very long. You are going to work hard to get out of the ghetto. And he said, that's what I want to do. He graduated from Holmes, graduated from Northern Kentucky University, didn't get any aid from the government, did it on his own. I think he is retired now from Fidelity Investments as a vice president. Fidelity Investments. And
you know why that doesn't
wait a minute. He came to thank me.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Mr. Bernstein, I want to just say thank you. I'm pretty much, he's an old guy now. And he said, I want to thank you because you really made my life. I said, I didn't make your life. You made your life because you wanted to do what you accomplished. All I did was give you a little nudge.
Yeah, but it still felt good. Because so many people don't do that.
And you don't know how that made me feel. I mean, I really took a person from the ghetto. Mm-hmm. Many. He's not the only story. Many. And I said, you're gonna do this.
But here's why I'm not surprised. because how did I react when you told me what he said? When you said, "What do you do?" What did he say? I'll do anything you teach. Right? What was my reaction? I was
Today, that would never happen. It would
but
never
that's
happen.
the special thing. If someone has that attitude, they're going a long way, man.
I said, come on.
They're going a long way.
I'm not even letting you go home. We're going to do this all right now.
Yeah. They go, and I just, because it's so rare to hear it, to your point, man, that ad, just show me and I'll do the work. Just teach me and I'll show up. And I'm like, oh, man, they're going a long way.
Never was late. Yep. He didn't have a car. He walked.
Awesome.
Awesome. It's just a tremendous story.
It doesn't matter what happened to his life. It doesn't matter the fortune or unfortune he had. It doesn't matter the people that treated him bad. None of that shit matters, man. None of it.
Well,
if they'll just take action and think about the opportunity you gave him. There's a lot of businesses in town that would give that type of opportunity. You were the guy. You did, but there are. You just got to show up, man.
Yeah.
You got to show up and work hard and stick with it every day.
I'm telling you, it's the key to life. Any of these kids.
Yeah.
I go to high schools quite a bit, and I said, you know what? The key to getting a good job is this. It's simple. Take a shower, smell good, shaved, nice clothes. Don't go in a T-shirt that has holes and dirt everywhere. You wear a nice shirt, a nice pair of pants, and nice shoes. Put an aftershave on or cologne or perfume if you're a girl. Look good, because I can tell you the first opportunity you have is when you walk in the door and the interviewer is putting eyes on you.
First impressions matter.
It's it.
Yep.
And I can tell you, if you look like hell, you don't have a chance.
Yeah, you're not going to overcome it.
You're not.
Yeah, you're not. If you came looking like
that's going into garbage.
Yeah, and you're not going to be the person that's capable to overcome it because you were the person who showed up that way. Your mindset's wrong.
And they laugh at people that come in a coat and tie or
You show me somebody take something serious, baby. Let's go,
man.
Let's go,
man.
Right. Here's what's exciting about this. We're going to come down, but what we're doing a better job as, we'll do some content around it. So the moment I get to come down and do this, we're going to shoot some video. We'll shoot some content. It'll be awesome for you guys.
You are welcome anytime.
So we got to set it up, man.
Okay.
Can we make it one of those non-fast river days though?
Yeah.
Get a little scary.
Yeah.
Get a little scary.
Yeah. Well,
Get a little scary.
Yeah. No, we'll make it, and you come down, and we'll have a great time.
This is awesome.
It'll be a real that one more than 6 people will watch or listen to.
We're starting to have a fall. We're starting to do some fun things here.
Okay.
We're really starting to help out local businesses and putting eyeballs on this, and this will be a fun
to give
day.
you an opportunity to meet my son and daughter.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
They'll love you.
I think they're going to be. I think they're probably special, man. It doesn't take me too long to sit around and talk to somebody and say, "Yeah, they probably did it right raising them." You probably did. You probably did.
I can say this: my daughter went to Western Kentucky University.
Hilltop.
Hilltopper. Now she'll be mad at me because I tell everybody that it took her 10 years to graduate from college. And that's a joke. It only took her 4.5 for real. But she didn't get her diploma right away. It was another year or 2 for a diploma. My son went to the University of Kentucky. In 4 years, was gone out of college. And
do you know why it took her a year or 2 to get her diploma? Because I heard that state policeman that you ran into all those years. He sat on the board.
Anybody with Bernstein, hold them back. That's right.
Made a call, man. He made a call. We got problems with those Northern Kentucky folks, man.
Oh, that's probably true.
Hey, thanks for coming in.
Hey,
this was fun.
I enjoyed this. If you want me back, we can. We could talk for days.
Yeah, I think I want to come down and do this, and I bet we can.
Yeah.
I bet we can. We have the 100th episode here in a few months.
Okay.
And we're going to put an event on around it.
Okay.
And there's been a lot of really good local entrepreneurs that have come on.
I'm sure there are.
Tony's come on with Kona Ice. I mean, there's just been a lot of people.
Yeah.
Even the big media guy, Bob Herzog, he sat
Oh,
here. I did a role reversal on Bob because I was the one asking the questions.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had some. We had the CEO of Big B Coffee. They're out of Michigan, but they're really doing big things. He was on.
Very good.
Yeah, so it's been fun. So we're going to do something around this 100th episode.
Okay.
And I'd love to get together a panel of 4 or 5 people and do some things at that event and really talk about local business, about entrepreneurship. And you're a guy that has this perspective that you've done big, significant things. So I think there might be something around that.
Okay.
Where we can help and then invite kids. I went back to my old high school recently. They invited me back, and I talked to seniors. And these kids, man, they need people like you. They need people like you sharing. It's a different world now.
Well, it is, and I do it because I really am trying to get them to understand when you go out in the real world. You're in school now, so you're a little bit insulated from the real world. But in the real world, if you don't put on a nice shirt and you don't smell good and you don't look good, you're not going to get a job.
Yeah,
I don't care if it's a dishwasher at anywhere.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a job.
Yeah, so they're not going to take you serious.
And they laugh. I say, your fingernails are important. How would you like to have a dinner served with dirty fingernails? And they all go, oh, that's gross.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, treat the customer the way you want to be treated.
There
Isn't
you
that
go.
Isn't that it?
And there you go.
I gave a meeting. We went to the American Sign Museum. We had about 100 agents from my real estate company, and we gave out some awards from last year. And what I told them was, I said, of your next 10 customers, it's important that you do an incredible job for all 10 of those people when you're helping them buy and sell homes. And if you're not going to, what I want you to do is ask which one of them's okay not getting the good service. If you're only going to do it for 9, if there's one ask them which one's okay with it.
Yeah.
None of them. None of them. And so we got to keep that on our mind when we're out here doing business, interacting with the public. Thanks again.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'll put on the hat. We're going to come down and drive how long do I get to drive it for? Like 5 or 6 seconds?
Well, no. If we're going to film,
I get like a minute. Do I get like a minute?
Oh yeah, several minutes. We'll teach you how to navigate.
This is good.
Now boats talk a different language than we do. There's port and starboard.
Yeah.
There's one whistle, 2 whistles. It's not all.
You'll teach me that.
Oh yeah. You'll go away. You'll be getting a real license after our session.
What do you guys think about that? You think they'll be giving me a real license?
I think they're both scared.
He wanted to come on the boat.
They're both scared.
We're out of here, man. Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
All right. Yes.
Okay.